Okay, in this video I wanted to give you a course tour of the Blackboard course for CIT 161. So what I have up here is your Blackboard shell, and I'm going to run through and tell you some things about how the course is organized and how you can try to stay up to date and make sure things are turned in on time and that type of thing. So the first thing I want to point out is you will notice over here that progress tracking is turned on for your course. And in the beginning here, you'll notice we have a thing that has a empty circle or bubble, if you will. And this is a quick introduction to Blackboard. So if we go in and start looking at this quick introduction to Blackboard, we'll see that there's a video here. We'll see there's some text talking about Blackboard Ultra and your navigation icons or tabs at the top, that type of thing. So if I just kind of look at this and then X out of it, you'll notice that this bubble is now half full, which means I have started this section. So I've gone in there at least and potentially started reading the material. So let's say I'm come back out and I said, yeah, I know all that stuff. Or you actually watched all the videos and everything and you've completed this section. You'll see that hovering over that bubble says mark as complete. So if I click on that, it will put a check mark there indicating that I have done everything that I need or want to do within that section. The next thing we have in our shell is a Start Here section, which is required for all courses and has a standard set of information. So, it's intended kind of in a logical order. The first thing we have here is the course overview. So you can go through and get the official course description. Here's a place for this course tour that I'm actually making right now. So by the time you get in here, this will have a link to this video. Tells you why it matters, tell you about progress tracking, course competencies, etc. So let's say I read all that and I come back out and say, yes, I'm done with the course overview. Now I'm ready to go into this section. So the one thing I want to show you here related to keeping track is there is a schedule document. This is included in your syllabus too, but they ask that we pull it out and put it as a separate document so that you can easily expand it and see what kind of topics we're doing. So I like to organize my classes by weeks. So we have 16 weeks this semester and a final. There's the dates and what activities or chapters or material that we'll be covering during that week, including mention of, for example, your midterm exam and your final exam. So let's say, okay, I see there's syllabus here, but I'm not going to read that right now. I'm going to X out of it. So it's showing that it's not complete. If I close this down, notice up here, it gives me an indication 1 of 9 completed. So I went in and did that overview section. And notice there's a little black indicator here, which means I've started a section. So out of 9 sections, I've completed 1 and I've started another one. And, if you hover over those, it will tell you completed 1 or you've started 1. So it gives you a very visual, easy to see, easy to understand indication of where you are in the course. The other thing, before I continue on with the content section, is there is a Blackboard calendar. And I highly recommend using the calendar. It'll come up in day view. Usually what I would do is switch to month view and see what days I have assignments due, and assignments will be listed. There's a separate video on using the calendar, but it's an easy way to see what days you have something due, and when you click on it, once you actually have assignments, it will list them as being due. It'll be down here at the bottom though, because all my assignments are due by 11:59 p.m. on the due date. So the Blackboard calendar is really, really handy. One thing that sometimes happens that's a little frustrating for me as a faculty member is I'll have a student email me and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't turn this assignment in on time because I wrote it down wrong in my calendar." I keep an electronic calendar and a physical calendar as well, but I always make sure they're in sync with each other so that I don't have a slip up like that where I don't put something in one calendar or I mistakenly put it in as a different date. So what we'll do now up here at the navigation is we'll move from calendar back to content, and we'll scroll down, and the next thing I wanted to point out is, like I said earlier, I organize my class by weeks. If we're here on the main content page, we're going to have the week number, an icon for the week, and a brief description of what we will be covering that week. Now, if I click on week 1 to expand this, I meant to make something visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of student preview so that I can show you this. I'm going to go back into week 1, and each week will start with a module overview, which is what I wanted to show you. So if I click on this, or before I click, the description is going to be pretty generic. This is the module overview for week whatever, including course competencies filled by this module. Everyone will have that as the description. But if I go into the module overview, you will see that it has pretty much straight from the syllabus what we'll be covering that week. It will tell you why it matters. So in this one, it's talking about the Cisco Networking Academy. It will be followed by what course competencies are met by that week's material. So typically this might be 2, 3, sometimes 4 competencies, but here in the first week it only fills the first competency, which is learning about networks and their importance in supporting everyday activities in business. If there's a week that, for example, is just an exam, there would be no course competencies that were being met by the material that week because you were learning nothing new. Next, we will have a reading, and it will tell you what module or modules that you should be reading that match up with the material for this week. Then we have a module activities, which relates to the assignments that are going to be assigned that week. In some cases, or most cases, we will have things that are assigned in a week. Part of those will be due in the same week. So during week 1, you're going to have 3 homeworks and a pretest that are due during the time frame for week 1. You will also be assigned things in week 1 that are due in week 2. And that's your no-show activity, homework 0, a homework 4 on speed test, testing the speed of your connection. We're going to be using a tool very, very, very much called Packet Tracer. So you will install Packet Tracer as one assignment. You will then have a Packet Tracer assignment, in this case Packet Tracer activity 1.5.5 on network representation, so that you start learning how to use Packet Tracer. And then there will be a lab. that was assigned during week 1 that's due during week 2. So that's what the module activities are, just so you kind of know what assignments you're going to be assigned during a particular week. So that is a brief course tour of the Blackboard course for CIT 161.